Yeah, boy.
The recent demo for Wo Long just came out, and I decided to check it out for myself. After completing the full demo, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that you need to play this game. The combat is absolutely brilliant. Very tough at times, but once you get the hang of the mechanics, the fights are an absolute blast. Now, this video is mostly to show off some of the gameplay that we got in Wo Long, at least what we see in the demo. But I also want to talk about what kind of game this is. A lot of people have compared it to Nioh, and I think that's an accurate depiction. In the game, you'll be introduced to yet another Souls-like style of gameplay. Battle flags act as your checkpoints where you'll respawn after dying. These restore your healing items and bring you back to full health. Rest here, and you can upgrade your character with ki picked up from defeating opponents. There are different elements to upgrade, such as wood, fire, earth, water, and metal. As you upgrade, you also get points to unlock spells, which range from healing to lightning from the sky. So there's a lot of variety in how you actually set up your abilities, and upgrading was made very simple. The big appeal of this game, I think, is going to be the loot system. Contrary to your typical Souls games where you collect set items around the world, you'll get randomly dropped items from enemies. These drops will all be different, so if I get dropped the same sword twice in a row, one might actually be better than the other. At the end of my time with this demo, I had found a sword that had 2 powerful and unique attacks. It was the same sword I started with, but with different dropped rolls. An easy way to think about it is a Diablo style of loot system, but in a Souls game. Items feel very fun to pick up because you never quite know what you might get. Same goes for armor. You'll find several sets of armor that not only look different, but protect you better against different elements, which means there's always the possibility to get something better than you already have. This game's combat is very aggressive. You want to be as close to your enemy as possible so you can deflect any incoming attack and then quickly deal damage while your enemy's staggered. You get normal attacks and spirit attacks. Spirit attacks are essential as they deplete your enemy's spirit gauge. Reduce this enough and you get a free hit that deals more damage than anything else you have. Sort of like a critical hit or riposte. You can also block and dodge attacks, but from what I can tell, it's always better to deflect because it ends battle much quicker. This deflect also works 2 separate ways. With normal attacks, it seems to almost always be better to deflect early, and this will let you deal some damage afterwards. With red attacks that are critical, the enemy deals way more damage and charges up some sort of heavy powered attack. Every single one of these that I came up against in the demo was delayed, so patience is key. But deflect these red attacks and you massively reduce the enemy's spirit gauge. So while red attacks are really annoying at first, you eventually want the enemy to do them because it's the best way to deal the highest damage. You also get an ultimate which builds up very slowly as you hit enemies, but activating it gives you amazing results as well. In conclusion, for the combat, there's a lot that you have. Attack at range with a bow, which feels very good by the way. Slice and dice with 2 weapons equipped at the same time, or use several different abilities and spells. The combat is by far the best part of the game. It's not for everyone, just because the combat can be quite hard, but it's also well worth your time to learn how it works, because you'll have a blast after it starts to click. Bosses are a huge part of any game like this. These are honestly the highlights of Wo Long. They're all pretty difficult from what I experienced, but as you slowly figure out when to deflect and re-attack with spirit abilities, they go down a lot quicker. This is where those red attacks really came into play, as they can be very difficult to deflect. It's hard to explain why exactly the boss fights feel so good, but deflecting these massive attacks over and over just to get in your powerful spirit hits is addictive. I was begging the game to give me more bosses after each encounter. And at the end of this video, I'll show off some of these fights because it's well worth checking out. One feature you might not have expected in Wo Long is co-op. Now, this is only online co-op, but I imagine it works quite well. And I say this because you can choose to play with another NPC instead, selecting who you want to join you at the battle flags and then getting their help until they die. You can revive these NPCs as well, it seems, although they only really die in boss fights, and they're pretty expendable then anyway. But this could be an incredible game to play with a friend, and some of your spells actually benefit from this as well. With the insane amount of customization you have towards builds, there's a lot of potential to run through with a partner. The last thing I'll mention before getting to the pure combat is story and character. You have a ridiculous amount of ways to customize the look of your main character. Just about everything can be modified in some way. I usually don't change much other than selecting one of the pre-made models, but it's nice to have loads of options for people to get creative. As for the story and cutscenes, it's okay. The cutscenes were not boring at all, but they can look a bit odd at times, especially when NPCs are talking to each other. The story's basically you being a militia hero who defeats demons and saves the people. Nothing super new really, but it kept me invested at least. Now this is only the demo, yes, but I imagine the story only gets better from here on out. The real reason to play this game, like I said, is the combat. It's extremely well done and I had a great time in this demo. So enough with all my rambling, here are 2 of the boss fights with footage where I won in case you want to see what this is all about.
I'll crush